It's asking a toddler to solve complex math problems. Toddler typically is not able to do that. And so doing something that you like, and that's for me real success. Don't be afraid to do stuff which is not yours.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Business Narrative. Today, we are joined by none other than Jaspar Roos. He has been providing artificial intelligence services to dozens of companies, and with that, he has launched 50 plus companies. And he's an entrepreneur and innovator. Thank you so much, Jasper, for your precious time.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here and to have a chat with you on what is the narrative of business, what makes it a business or not, or what are the mistakes people can make and still laugh around.
You launched 50 plus companies, Jasper, and how many were successful? If they were successful, what were the patterns you have noticed in their success? Because audience want to know, I want to know, I am very curious.
I think if you would get a success rate of 10% financially, of course, it's already worth it because then you think as an investor. And that's from an investment perspective, of course, you would like to have 100 things right out of the 100, but then, of course, you're having to bet on the safe side. And unless you're Peter Thiel or one of the most famous ones, then, of course, a success rate of 10% financially, of course, that's high. So if you talk about success in terms of what did you enjoy, I think that's actually a higher rate because so doing something that you like, and that's for me real success. I think I get 80% success rate of the initiatives I've launched, and some of them got known, some of them got less known, and that's all fine. And I've been in different capacities, working for Plug and Play. I have my own investment funds. As a Plug and Play is the largest tech investor. I work in my own funds as well. I had over 3 continents. I have my own digital agencies. I've been head of venturing at ABN AMRO Bank and other advisory board for many other companies. So for me, the success for that is that you found that little bucket in the market that has been for some reason underserved or undefined or whatsoever. And as you've been able to scale it in a way that you can be proud of yourself. But this could be with simple things, of course, like AI trainings or with the things you have on your phone. So I love these kind of stories. So where people just are repairing phones and then make money out of that. And that's just that's for me, that's true success. Because I would not say it's necessarily so I think for most, so in these days, it's very easy to launch a company, especially with Vercel, Lovable, all the, of course, the no coding apps. It's very easy to do that. It's way more complex to make money out of that. And also it's the most complex thing, of course, what makes success, what you enjoy it, is that you have to put in effort. And when the effort when money is not the first thing on your mind, then it's successful. And it's for the same for those who want to create a podcast like you. Of course, we all hope to get 1 million kind of viewers. But in the end, that's not. So if you only focus on that part, so for you already, every interview that you had in between, that you got 1 or 2 extra viewers, that is success. I think that so what we should, when we want to understand successful entrepreneurs, what we call successful, and we hopefully also understand that success is the whole process. Getting from 1 to 2 viewers, from 2 to 4 to 400 to maybe 200. That's for me is maximum success.
So, Jasper, you are an AI expert, right? So, do let me know, AI is reliable enough to trust blindly, or it's just a hype?
I'm a computer science from background. And so I remember one of the first appliances that we had, which got acquired by Apple and which now is called the Apple Watch. And so I created a device with some fellow colleagues that controlled stress for doing transactions. And so based upon historical data, we could then have a tool that would bring you relaxed. So this like this mantra, like too early is also not on time. So we were too early. We were great inventors, but like didn't make any money. But that was like the early days of AI. So I think a lot of the, if I would now, because it was like 2010, so really like early days, 2009, 10. But now 2026, beginning of the new year, I would say AI works for like backend operations, and it does a fun thing in with more like in guessing, like a poker game. It's fun to do. So for that reason, it's proven its value. Of course, the question is, of course, like how to scale it to large corporates so that actually makes sense, so to large amount of people. So if we go society-wise, that's why it's still in the early days. It's asking a toddler to solve complex math problems. Toddler typically is not able to do that. Like the same with AI, like if you want to use it to define our lives, it doesn't work well. Because also it's not trained enough. It's like you can't expect AI the way that we use it right now with LLMs. LLMs, like large language models, are at the end of their, let's say, opportunity curve. So we need to go to mental models and other kind of things. So that will take some, that's fine. Like the same with blockchain. Remember when I was active with Swift? Swift is like the big payment system player in the financial world. And they were very upset with blockchain and crypto. But now blockchain, of course, is totally accepted as a large scale, like backend solution provider, so to say, of solution technology. It took also like 10 years, 15 years to get it really like going. So so I think it's too early to call. So I think the valuations for a lot of companies are too high. And if I now, because we do a lot of AI applications, what we typically say to any company, so make all the backend process automation to make that AI, that's good. Everything else that adds value, make that real. And so just put it, for example, in your podcast, like a business narrative, you can have like beautiful podcasts with AI agents. It actually could work. You could scale it. But that's not real. That's not the added value. In this case, you want to have a silly guy like me who has been in the market for quite some time and to hear some of the stories. Some of them, the viewers will agree with. Some of them will say, this is bullshit. That's fine because that's real. So what you now see is that, of course, you have people in the tech side who make money with by the AI. But a lot of them also, when they combine it smart with being real as a human, and that's all the things that we do in our business right now. That's how we automate the backend items. So we have more time to be individually in touch with people. But that's when people want to buy it.
Everybody is worried that their jobs will going to be replaced. I will be going to name some of jobs, and as an expert, you have to tell me that in near future, in upcoming 5 years, these jobs will going to be replaced by AI or not. Entry level software developers, what do you think?
I think software developers will be on. They will be very important, not only as archaeologists, like how does Lisp or Prolog or whatever, what did they write there, like Old Greek or Sanskrit, but I think also so it's any kind of so a software developer, of course, is a builder of a cathedral, and so part of that, of course, is the so now we think about the bricks in the AI decoding, but of course you're building a cathedral, like a software cathedral, with a vision of what it should do. And so that's what software developers can do. And so a software developer who needs to understand the paradigm, the concepts of programming, not necessarily the language, because the language moving from Java to Python, that's easy nowadays. But understanding true purpose is the same. Like so I'm now taking like extra language classes again, like on German and Spanish, because I know that if I really want to understand the culture, so yes, of course, I could go with Google Translate, walk around, but like these kind of trade is so good. So I think that's the same for software developers. They are like Python coders or whatever. In the end, they're cathedral builders. And so we need to, for the software developers, that role will for sure be alive, not for plain vanilla coding. That's easy. But like understanding the paradigms, that's very important.
So it clearly means those developers who can understand complex problems, they will going to sustain their jobs. What do you think about entry level accountants?
Yeah, so I don't think that's a good one. So I don't think there's a role for the pure like like debit credit kind of like measurements. So that role is over. I think for accountants. However, I think like an accountant doing an audit trail on an algorithm, for example, that will happen. So I think the entry level accountant, the role that we know now, 2025 and 26, that will disappear for those activities, but they will come back to understand, for example, have you, what are your ethics books? Do they say? What are your algorithm books instead of the financial books? So I think so that those roles will come re-emerge, I'd say. That's a good one. Entry level accountants. So I don't bet my kid on that.
So lastly, do let me know, will call center agents will going to be replaced by AI totally?
It's a really good one. So I think like so AI can automate call scripts and they can do call logging. But the funny thing is like when I enter, like when I have to call a call center, and when they say please address your problem, so the only thing I keep on shouting is or like human, or like cancellation, because that's both tracks that directly typically get to a human. And so that's I love talking to a human. So that's the funny thing in AI. I love talking to it. So with many call center staff members, so the thing that we need, and it's a bit more philosophical concept, everything is connected right now with AI. I need to be collected with double L instead of connected with double N. I need to be collected when I can talk to a human. And so I think the call centers was like solving easy problems. It's much more about, okay, I want to have a collective with you. And like we are now in a conversation. So I think the role of a call center will be much more therapeutic or much more like you would call your old grandma. Like, hey, I have this problem. I don't know how to solve it. And I can't find my AI model. And then they would say, son, this is what I would do. I think that's the future of the call centers. And I'm actually pretty bullish on that call centers will survive. Like all the existing work that will be gone, automated. But like everything else is like, hey, I just called you to hear your voice. So I think that's just I think and of course, so I chat a lot to my own LLMs, but just it helps me, but it suits me too much. And so I need to, so, lot, and so I need the call center will be much more like, I have this problem. No, you don't. You have actually this problem. I think that's the future of the call centers. The people will say like, hey, this is not so. Be careful what you say.
If AI will going to replace or wipe out all these jobs, are we burning the ladder for next generation expert? Like there will be no leader, there will be just AI robots will going to lead humans.
I think so. I remember like when I think when the train came, when the trains were introduced in life, like about 50 years ago, people were afraid that the cows didn't give milk anymore because they thought like the cow would go crazy. And by now, with AI, of course, cows didn't go crazy from the trains. So that's they kept on producing milk. So that's but luckily for like technology that it creates a good thing, but then it also creates the disturber for something else. So with AI, we'll move to that right now. So everything is in my phone. Great. It's lovely. Everything is in my phone. But again, we have to redefine what skills we want in the market. And so for those who have been very active in the beginning side of AI, have been able to make a lot of money, and there was redistribution of wealth. And now, of course, you could answer for a question like, but what does it make? What sense does it make? So now meaning all of a sudden has become like a wisdom has become like very high. So people now pay to be, of course, in the spiritual center for a retreat, to be fully offline. That's funny. Like I used to write for a newspaper, and I also did like a big article that did already like 8 years ago. In like the real rich people are the ones who can stay offline. So I think that we are overstating the. So for those companies who only say it should be AI, they will come back to that because the real adoption is to include humans. Because we're just like they're the ones who need to apply it. And I think people in the end want to go for the real experience. But again, I use it a lot. We use it in our teams a lot. But we always offer like a premium. If you really want to go premium, you have to talk to us directly. And we teach universities, and people want us to be there because they want to hear the stories.
Intel, Amazon, and UPS, they fired so many jobs, thousands of jobs. And after some days, their stocks in market, 10% they raised. So it clearly means that if you remove humans, your company will going to sustain more profit. Like this is a cold reality of future.
And so I think it's a very interesting topic that you touch upon. So in general, I think and so when people don't know what to do, they cut costs. And so jobs is the easiest one. So it could be true, of course, that the people are just like doing redundant jobs. But I think apart from the TikTok and the YouTube food moves that you see from people who can run a company on their own, which is also true that most companies can do that. But so I think the jobs that are being cut, of course, are the automations, like for accountant, if you're still using an abacus to measure that, or that doesn't need to be. And of course, when you have like Excel sheets and everything is connected, why would you then type over things doing that? So those data entry jobs will be gone. However, the same with agentic AI, of course. So it's all great that everything is connected, but if the beginning phase is shitty, there's a lot of pull at the end. Sorry for my French. But so that's so that like I said, like with same with accountants. So I think Amazon is and a lot of these companies for stock markets are bullish on like firing jobs. But of course, in the end, they will say, "What are you going to do with the cash?" And like the stupidest thing you're going to do if you then have to return it to shareholders, because in the end, and it's short-term gain. So what is the big vision plan? And of course, right now, of course, all Amazon, Palantir, whoever, of course, been focusing on building data centers. But they realize right now that all the jobs which are like lacking are blue collar jobs. You can actually build those data centers. And like that's so in the end, of course, if I would now tell a young person of 15, 16, what should you do in the Western world, I say become a plumber. Or become like a psychologist or a humanist, in which you can connect like different kind of people. You don't have to become a software developer, but you can become like a humanist psychologist that you actually can understand the people's problems, because everybody will get lonely. Everybody's seeking for meaning. But if you're now a religious leader, it will be happy days because you can give meaning to people. And again, I would already be happy if a kid of mine would become a plumber, because then, of course, like these people, they earn gold right now because they're so important to get the country going, to everything going. So I think you're right in the short term. What they do, like at Amazon, just of course to boost the profits. I think in the long run, of course, they will just make themselves like irrelevant, because and of course that's the stock market acts different than real life. But I go a lot, of course, like in the streets, just to buy stuff in the stores. I've been always been busy with the future because I like that. And right now it's snowing here in the Netherlands, so then I like it to order something online. But like everything, all my orders from Amazon are delayed because of the snow. So if I really want to get something, I should get out. So I'm then willing to pay the people. But so it's true. It's the world for people is strange. Not like an Amazon, whomever, after them like kicking out people, stock price go up. But I think what comes up, like gravity, and we're not on the moon or we're not on Mars with Elon Musk. As a gravity will play a role here.
So let's talk about non-technical people, non-technical persons like me. Like if I have an idea with the help of AI, can I build $1 million business? This is reality, or like it's just a hype as well.
So Chris Anderson, once like the chief editor of Wired, wrote like a long time ago the Long Tail. It's a book about that thanks to internet, also for Amazon, you can reach like a lot of people. But the good news is with AI, of course, if it's easy, like as a non-coder, it's just to build an instant app, Vercel, lovable, by Upwork, whatsoever, you can easily build that. Having something, so then you have to really be lucky because so uh, you have to be really lucky to be the first in the market, just to hit goals. That can happen. But a lot of these things can be copied. And then it's difficult to, but if you can build it easily, then somebody else can also build it easily. So what we are doing, for example, right now, we have like an AI navigator, which we help for corporates to understand what are the fears and taboos people have. That's a bit of a strange approach I take with my teams. We look at the fears that people have, and also for non-coders, like why have the fear of being replaced. And so what we try to mix over there is an extreme standpoint of view, the polarized stand view, people have fears, taboos, AI, and combine it with research data that we have from ourselves. And so that's why we become vertical AI, so to say. So we're using a vertical AI approach. So we have our own data sets, and like really which are own, which are from humans, and we try to integrate that. So if you as a non-coder wants to become a millionaire in AI, it could work. We have to be lucky to find a market that you do better than the ones. Of course, they're always happening. So it could be on podcast software or like which podcast to listen to because there's so abundance of choice. And so it could also be that you say, I do only the business podcast. I interview crazy Dutch people, so there might be a market for that. I do that. And that's really like a long tail of people who like to have that. But so I think if you want to be successful, then you need to find a niche. So it could be maybe that you have the info from your family that you can input. So it should be like unique content. So just scraping stuff from Google, of course. All these tools are now being eaten alive by ChatGPT or OpenAI, by Claude, whatsoever. So it's impossible to stay alive with just a simple tool. But it will work maybe for a short time. And so, for example, yesterday I used an AI, like I wanted to use translate a PowerPoint and a keynote to a Google Sheets documents. There was a website for that, and then so in the end it touched upon Vercel, as like the app builder, the low-code app builder, but it didn't work. And so they had already, so somebody had made an effort to make that as a business proposition. And so they used Vercel to build that. Vercel is very good, of course, like the better version of Optical, I would say. And so when I saw, like when I was like doing the request, it hit it to Vercel. So I noticed that in the command flow what happened. So I was just checking out where the app was built in. And it didn't work because they already had changed the rules apparently. So if you want to be the market, the same as drop shipping, you can be lucky. There's plenty of people who are lucky, but most of the time you need to really understand what the problem is. And just building something like on AI will not work. At least for me, I'm not spending my time on these kind of like micro markets. I'd rather play like a real game, like what is relevant. So, of course, there are markets which are interesting. And I think like there are a lot of like, of course, for a lot of these tools right now, what you think will be useful is for people to understand. And so, for example, what from the abundance of choice. So which choice you need to keep, or like which new free tools should you do? Opal or like whatever, Google Studio. Like nobody can keep up with it.
So you have a cave behind you, and I love that cave. So do let me know, like, why we are not reading books for research purpose, for pleasure. Why we are going far away from reading books. What do you think?
So I think what you see, I think, is really interesting to see. So if you would ask like the Elon Musk in this world, like the big guys, they all read. Amazon, of course, has a culture of reading. So they, but for them, it's not time, wasted time. It's like gaining wisdom. Why do I read? But I want to get new insights. I want to get like new feelings and new ideas, and it can only arrive inside my head. If I go every time to ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, then I don't get creative. So I will get like a me too situation in which I develop ideas which are already out there. So yes, it will save me time. Where I'm going to put it in. Yes, so I think there's so I'm now writing about my mom. So I lost my mom and I decided to write about it. It's on LinkedIn and to write about like the train I feel. I don't use ChatGPT first. I maybe use for spell checker, but like the rest of it, just trying to keep it real. And I've never gotten so much reply, so to say. And I've never gotten so much many replies on what I wrote down. So I can only do this. People actually take the time to read my pieces. Before that, not or hardly. And so people long, of course, for meaning. And so that's if you reframe it like it's a waste of time. So then of course it will not work. But for me, it's like I sit down and try to reflect on the world. I realize that is the real advantage. So it's not about reading is slow. Like Netflix is way easier, or like podcast. I love those things as well. But I realize in this fast-moving world where you can summarize everything, that everybody can talk the same. So I need to be more spoken out on the things. I need to be. So that's why I encourage a lot of people to read fiction. And because fiction, of course, like understanding how a world would look like, a relationship, or like how a life or conventional world would look like. I love that because it creates my fantasies and my imagination. Therefore, I can also map new ideas. For me, living partly in the scientific world, where I do a lot of like try to do research on new topics, I need to have the fiction to be able to non-fiction. So I do also, of course, a lot of non-fiction. Again, so if I sometimes I can learn more from the movie Love Actually than maybe Pride and Prejudice from Jane Austen, because then it's like so the movie's then faster, and of course you have the visuals with that. But like in this world where people are out of themselves, like with languages, when I said software developers, they're building a cathedral, I think in the end, the people we will be following in from 2026 onwards to 2040 are the ones who can actually share a story, don't need PowerPoint, don't need like the 3 bullets, but actually share this because they are wise people. And whether it's a woman or a man or anything in between. So the people in the end want to follow people actually have a mission and a vision, also as individual. They have to the business narrative, but also the public, the private, the personal narrative. So I think reading will come back. And now it looks so uncool. But in the end, if your partner will be a reader, I think it's the most sexy thing on the planet. That's that they just actually take the time to heal themselves, to think about themselves. So I encourage everyone to read. But just for yourself to calm down, to give your brain some snacks instead of just like the dopamine hits when I open my phone, which I do as well because I love cat videos and love like silly fails. So that's You can call me day and night for some funny cat video. I said, I'd say, but I know as well, I should also put down the phone. And like, no phone here. I'm really going to uh, meet. I think, well, you have put the same, like I said, a treasure. And so that's why I buy books every day. But also, like, the library is such a great thing just to borrow the wisdom of other people that we do it. Like, it gives me like a feeling of being alive. And so in this AI world, having that, and like if if somebody from the business narrative listeners who now say I'm opening up a bookshop, just DM me directly. I will try to buy a book from them.
But lastly, Jasper, do let me know if you get a chance to give one piece of advice to your younger version, what will be that advice?
So many advice I could give like, to myself. Like, apart from, I would not say don't be stupid because that's when you're young, of course, you can be stupid. But, I'm gonna so it's when you're young, you're very much busy, of course, who you want to become. And you know very well like what you don't want. You try to be adventurous. At certain points, you start to become fearful for the stuff that you become fearful of the things that you lose. I think the biggest story I would tell myself is like, don't be afraid to lose the stuff which is not yours, um, and because it's going to be all right. I've been in the luxury position to have a lot of money, also to lose a lot of that, and I didn't get better. So in the end, so I didn't become a better human. I became a better human because I was much more like realizing if I do the right thing for myself, yeah, trust whatever it will happen. So at a certain point, it's going to be all right. I'll talk about karma or the things over here. It's more like so you have like things to influence, things not to influence. But when you're really young, you're adventurous, you can't be bothered. At a certain point, you flip to the mind phase that you're afraid to lose it. And I think that part, that younger self in myself, that I'm trying to hold, to hold things, I would say it's okay. It's like nature gives, nature takes, and it's going to be all right. So don't be too focused on material things that will. We're not talking about love and nothing, but more like material things. It will not make you a better person to have a better watch or to have like a bigger car. Or is it? Because the moment you have it, that's the moment you start to worry about it. I would have less of that. I would tell myself, like, just keep on laughing. Don't try to look serious. When I was like 24, I was a banker, expert banker. I looked like a 50-year-old banker. I didn't want to look old. And so you see this picture and laugh so at myself. Uh, Now it's like, Jasper, just, just relax. Everything will be all right.
Thank you so much, Jesper, for your precious time, and I hope all the viewers will going to love the podcast. If you love the podcast, do subscribe the channel, press the bell icon. We will be going to meet you in another exciting episode. Till then, keep daring, keep listening, and keep achieving your goals.